In this video, I will talk about effective ways to learn languages. I have been learning languages for 10 years and also teaching it with my videos and in person. And some of these techniques can sound a bit weird or unusual, but I hope you can stay open to them and maybe try a few of them. I'm not saying that you have to do all of the things I will introduce in this video. And I'm going to start with something unusual, which is learning with comics or graphic novels. So why are comics useful? They have a lot of dialogue, and often the dialogue is quite natural, and the images also help to understand what's going on, even if you don't use the dictionary or you don't use the dictionary so much. And there are so many different genres, so it's not only for children or teenagers. There are love stories, historical graphic novels, crime stories, and one good thing is that you don't really need your smartphone or other electronic devices for this language learning technique or resource. So that's a plus, at least in my case, because sometimes I might be using my smartphone too much or get distracted with. Sometimes, you open apps, some new site without even noticing it. So why are comics better than children's books? Many people recommend children's books for learning languages, but at least in my native language, I think the children's books often actually have quite complicated language, like unnecessarily complicated, because I think the books are designed to increase the children's vocabulary, which is good for them, but they're not necessarily teaching the core of the language for a language learner. But yeah, there are some exceptions, and if there is some children's book that you really enjoyed reading as a child yourself or later, then why not? It's any kind of reading, it will help a lot. Graded readers can be great also. So as you may know, graded readers are these kind of simplified books, maybe novels or detective stories. Often they have recordings, which is great. You can get used to the sounds of the language, and you can listen to them many times, even when you're busy or you're taking a walk or commuting. You can listen to them many times until they become like music that you like earworms. That's a kind of natural way to absorb the language, I would say. And yeah, in general, it's good to read and listen to stuff that you are really interested and passionate about. Stuff that you would read otherwise in your native language. For example, I have a friend who loves metal music, and he's been learning Finnish by listening to the interviews of his favorite metal bands, and I think interviews of interesting people in general is a great, or can be a great way to learn languages and hear natural speech. And whatever you listen or read, I think it's a good idea to take some notes, not necessarily all the time. I really recommend taking two kinds of notes. The first one is more important. These are useful sentence starters, or some call them conversational connectors. So these would be expressions like, in my opinion. On the other hand, I have to admit, I think it's a good idea to store these kind of expressions separately, maybe even on a separate notebook, or often I do it on the other side of the notebook. And these kind of notes I review more often. So when I know that I get to practice some of my favorite languages somewhere, I will take out my notebook with these expressions, and they will kind of boost my my conversation ability, because these sentence starters, they're really important to creating like long, natural sentences. And the other kind of notes, they're also important, and I recommend writing down whole phrases, because we talk in whole phrases, whole sentences usually. And while you write these whole phrases, you learn the grammar of the language also. So there's less need to study the grammar explicitly. Some even will become fluent in a language without any kind of grammar training. So that's one way they do it. And something that I used to forget also was actually reviewing these notes, these less important notes, and at some point I just put my notebook on my kitchen table, or back then I didn't have a kitchen, but the table I used for eating my my humble breakfast. I would my notebook was waiting for me there, and I just could automatically start reviewing my previous days notes or older notes, and I think that was a good way to get some repetition. And in general, putting your learning resources somewhere you see them easily is really good. So you don't have to make such an effort to start this learning session. You just see your favorite comic or book and start reading it, or putting your learning app on the first page of your smartphone. That can help a little. Another useful trick I use is learning the common questions. So these common questions are the ones if you've lived abroad. So where are you from? What do you do? What do you do for a living? What do you study? And if you're learning outside the country, everyone will ask you, like, why are you learning Russian, or why are you learning Swedish? And you can practice these questions in isolation, kind of maybe with a tutor or a friend who speaks this language. And when you know these common questions, then it will be a lot easier to have kind of simple conversations already, even if you don't have wide vocabulary yet. So I actually did this before moving to China. I lived for 5 months in China. I never reached a fluent level, but but because I knew these common questions, I had practiced them before moving to the country. I knew most of the conversations that were going to happen. Like I wasn't afraid to have conversations with the locals. So yeah, that was useful. So I feel that's another shortcut to getting conversational in a language. And then let's look at some smartphone apps and websites for language learning. Link is great. Link.com. It's an app and a website. It's a huge collection of texts with audio. And it has a lot of natural conversations also, like interviews and conversations between two teachers, two native speakers. And it's valuable even if you don't pay. I really recommend it. But if you do pay, you get some additional tools for the learning. I personally learned quite a lot of Russian and Japanese with Link, especially Russian. AnkiMobile Flashcards is also great. In that app you can make your own flashcards, or you can use the ready-made ones. Some of them even have real recorded audio for the phrases that you're learning. And yeah, I think Anki really spoon feeds a language in a effective way. I learned thousands of Japanese phrases with this app. But yeah, you can use it for learning any language. So Anki is one of the reasons why I'm able to speak Japanese, even though I've never been to that country. Another thing that helped me learn Japanese was making friends with a lot of Japanese people who are living here in Helsinki, Finland. And if you can't find them in your town, you can chat or talk through certain apps also, like Tandem and Hello Talk. You can search by language there. Yeah, chat messages can be pretty great. You can do it wherever, in a bus while sitting on a toilet. You can kind of take your time in writing the messages, and you can check words from a dictionary app. And yeah, I've arranged meetings with people from these that I've met in these apps. And there's also italki. From italki you can find tutors or qualified teachers, and you can take video calls with these people. They are often pretty cheap, these lessons you can get there. And when you get into real life conversations, it's good to learn these phrases that help with communication problems. So find out how to ask, can you repeat, please? Or can you explain that, please? Or can you speak more slowly, please? Another one is how do you say dog in Japanese? Making friends with people who are learning your target language is also great, I would say. So you can talk about resources, you can introduce each other to native speakers, and you can kind of get inspiration. And I think writing a diary is a good idea. Again, you can take your time, look up words from a dictionary app, and you get used to talking about your own life, and so I hope this video was useful, and if you're learning Finnish, you can check out my other videos. Many of them are about learning Finnish. Oh, yeah. See ya.